Hi everyone, I'm Roseanne Ritter with RR Designs, and today I'm going to show you some simple steps to bind a quilt, and especially watch my last step that helps close it all together. It's very simple, very quick. But sometimes people don't like to bind their quilts, but it is a good skill to have. So what I've done is I've cut multiple strips. Also, you have to measure around each of your sides to know how much binding to have. And what I've done is I've cut 2.5 strips, the width of the material, and I've got some more here that I've cut. And there's a couple simple ways to attach. You can attach it right side to right side, so 1/4 of an inch across there, and that will give you a straight line. But after learning that simple way, I've actually found another way that I like is sewing diagonals. And what I do is measure across, and I draw a little basting line, my marker, and then I'm going to sew it but I've put the right side to the right side together. Oh, I gotta turn on my sewing machine, and I'll just take a second. Oh, I gotta plug it in. Okay, and now I'm ready to sew along that diagonal line that I've marked. Back off the material and sew right along that line. Close that. And then see that I open it up and there's a nice diagonal line. And then I cut that excess off. And I know you waste a little bit, but the diagonal lines look really good. And then I would like press it. I could press it with my fingernail. And then fold it. And there, see, I have a nice diagonal line in there. And then do the same for all the rest of the segments of this, and so that you have enough that goes around the whole quilt. And I should have enough right here. Okay, so now we're going to get ready to bind it. So this is 2.5 inches folded over to 1.25 inches. Now what I do is leave like a tail of like this much open, and then bring it over to your sewing machine. And then what I do is I don't do a scant 1/4 inch, I just go by what the machine does. And I have the end of the foot right along the edge of the material. And I start to sew. I tack it off, and I just start to sew. I've been making Christmas ornaments, and there's finally on my machine. So you continue all the way down to the corner, and I'm going to show you a trick for the corner that I've learned on a pin. And what I do at the corner is I kind of mark 1/4 of an inch from the edge, and that's where I'm going to go down to. And stop right at my pin, and then I'm going to pivot, pull out my pin, and sew to the corner, and then come out. Lift up my foot, come out, and then what I do is I fold it right on that diagonal that I just sewed, and then fold it down. So you got that? Okay, it looks like that. Then when I come back in, I'm going to come right to that corner again, right there. That's right at the crease that you just made, and start sewing. I tack it, I go backwards to right where I started, and what that does, it doesn't add a whole lot of bulk at your corner when you turn. Makes a very nice flat corner. And believe me, the first time is not the easiest time binding. You really have to practice. And when you have that skill down, you have a skill. There was a lady I met at a quilting store just a couple weeks ago. She was bringing her business cards into the quilt shop. She just binds quilts for other people. Other people don't like to bind quilts, so that's the skill. She says she could do this binding at home right in front of the TV. Sews it on the quilt and then can sit in front of the TV and bind quilts. So she's working from home while she's watching TV or watching her program. So I measure again, 1/4 of an inch. There you go. Send my needle down, turn, lift up, and sew right to that corner. Lift up, and lift up my needle, lift up my foot again, and turn it. So again, slant that on the diagonal that you just made, and fold. And then start right where you put that pin, 1/4 of an inch from the quarter. Sew, and then go back it, and then start sewing again. So you're going to do that on all sides. And keep that edge of that foot along the edge of your material. Then what I kind of like to do is make sure that my binding goes all the way around, and it does. And when you could feel all the material inside of that, that's a good binding. That's show quality. What judges are looking for, that your bindings are all full in there, that it's solid in there. So that looks good. That's a check to do. There's another, oops, sorry about that. I hit the camera. There's another kind of binding called bias binding. This binding, this 2.5 inches is right on the width of the fabric. There's another binding called bias binding. That's a lot of fun to do, but that'll be another video. That kind of binding you can do on curves. But this one is very simple. Mark my corner. Oh, I want you to meet my camera guy. Is my husband Carrie. And the bird, he may be squeaking. Okay, there's my 1/4 of an inch. Pull out my pin, go diagonal to the corner of the fabric. Lift up my pressure foot, take it out, fold it again to a diagonal, and fold it over, and then go back in, go back at that corner 1/4 of an inch that you just made, and back it, tack it down, and keep going another 1/4 of an inch. Okay, we're getting close to the edge. We got one more corner to do. Let's see whether they're kind of, whoops. more corner to go. And sometimes if you could get this skill of doing bindings, like I said, there's a lot of women that quilt that just like to machine piece the tops. So if you're with a guild, you know, they make a lot of quilts for charity. So if you can get this skill down, you can do a lot of work just binding the quilts. Sometimes that can turn into an income for you. Almost to my last corner. Again, mark 1/4 of an inch, go down to the pin, needle down, turn. My foot automatically comes up, so angle to the 1/4, lift up your foot, pull out, and then diagonal, and then over, and then go back to where you placed your pin. That's it, yeah, go back. Okay, almost coming to the end, and this is the big trick coming up, how we're going to close this up. So I'm just going to go just a couple more inches, and I'm going to stop it and cut. Okay, now I want you to watch this. This is the cool part. I've learned this, and I've done it ever since. Okay, see how it ends right there? And then we're gonna close that up. I'm gonna show you how I do it. Piece of scissors. What I'm gonna do is this is my measuring tool right here. I'm gonna cut a little bit. This is what is gonna determine how I measure to close this up. Okay, what I do is come right to the edge of this part right here. Come right to the edge. Fold that way. Take my little piece, lay this down right to the edge of there, and then cut. That's how much I need to end this. Okay, save that. You can save that for another time. Okay, then take that off. Then what you do is you take your two right ends together. See how this is your right side of the fabric, this is your right side. Place those together like that. Someone told me a trick. It's almost like you're making like a little person. Okay, and then you put them together. I'll show you what the little person looks like. See how it has two legs, and then where we're going to sew across is the waist. So what I'm going to do is draw a line across where his waist is. Draw across there with a little, I think I got that. Okay. Bring it over to the sewing machine. Carrie, I think you'll even like this too. And then draw, and then sew right across that, right across its waist. A little person's waist. And it, whoops. Machine likes that. No. Oh, okay, keep going. Okay. And then cut the thread. Okay. Then take out your pins. And then I kind of do a test. Just to make sure, see? It's going to lay down flat. Just like that. No tools. no tools necessary. So I'm happy with that it all comes together. I'm happy about that. So what I'm going to do is cut this little extra piece off. I can use my scissors. Just cut my little piece off. That little extra material. And I can use my fingernail to kind of iron it down, or you could take it to the ironing board and iron it down. And there, you have finished the quilt. But just hang on just a minute. We'll take it to the sewing machine and finish it. And how many seconds did that take? Took like just a couple minutes. It just, but if you have to go back and watch that over again, well, one thing, it's practice. Binding is a lot of practice. But some people take out their pins, some people run over them. Okay, and then you end that. Take out that pin. There, and you just bind, and you just close that ending to that. Now I have another quilt. Hold on, I'm going to show you how to sew it. I made a memory quilt, and I want to show you how to stitch it. Okay, I made a memory quilt out of my husband's father's shirts, cut 6.5-inch blocks, and we're gonna bind this. Let's see, I got a corner up here. I've got a corner that I rolled over, and I use these clips. They almost look like hair clips, but what I've done is taken a strand of thread, tied a knot in the end, and then I just start. I do kind of like a hiding stitch on this, and I actually, this is like one of my favorite things to do. I go in and I come out about 1/4 inch, and then I go in, and then I come out into there, and it just hides it really nice. And I do that all the way around. It's actually very soothing. I actually like that very well, and it looks, so be careful not to catch the quilt top underneath. You're just going through the batting and the backing when you go down, and you come and you go up. And that's how you'll finish off binding your quilt. But I hope you liked the instructions on how to bind a quilt. Simple instructions on how to bind a quilt and then close it off very simply. It only takes like a couple minutes, no tools needed. So I hope you like this. Take care. Have a good day.
Bye.